What's going on, guys? Kane and Aiden here, back with another video. All glory to God. And today, we're back finally. It's been a couple more days than we originally planned, but new videos coming to you guys. Let's get into it, man. Lots of news around the sports world. Aiden, how you feeling?
I'm feeling good, man. Back to school. It's a little crazy right now, but we're working with it. We're working with it.
Yeah, we're rocking with this. So let's get right into some NBA trades. Ooh, these things have been going crazy. So the first trade we're going to talk about, we're going to kind of go through both trades because they have to do with each other, and then we'll discuss overall winners. So the first trade here, the Memphis Grizzlies go out and acquire Patrick Beverly, who they traded to Minnesota,
Safe one.
Rajon Rondo, and Daniel Oturu. Oturu, however you say his name, okay? You guys know I'm bad at the names. In that trade, the Clippers acquire Eric Bledsoe. So that's trade number one. In trade number two, the Clippers, not the Clippers, my bad. The Grizzlies, like I mentioned, they went ahead, they went out and got Jarrett Culver and Joncho Hernandez for Patrick Beverly. So the Grizzlies had Patrick Beverly and then they got rid of him.
In less
So
than a day.
less than a day. Overall, who is the winner out of these trades?
I would say the Grizzlies because Jarrett Culver is a young guy who still has some potential. Not really I'm not really crazy on him, but he did have that one really good dunk on Robin Lopez. But who knows? He's only 23 or 22 around that age. Pat Bev is older. They don't have much use for him. I don't think with John Moran being there and like other guards like Dylan.
Yeah. I would have to agree with you. I think it is Minnesota. If you look at like probably the best player that was traded, that would probably have to go to the Clippers for Bledsoe. Um, but I think like you said, I think the Grizzlies won. Jarrett Culver pushed them over the top, like you said. I'm not crazy about him either, but I still think he has potential. With Hernandez, I'm not really sure what you're going to get there. If you're looking at Rondo, I really like that addition for the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies like to run out in transition. You're going to get Rondo. You'll get some more flow through that offense. With
Get a better
Ja,
leader on the team. Get a
with
leader on the team.
the offense is really kind of standard. It doesn't have much flow ball movement with it. I think with Rondo, you're going to get a little bit more of that. So if I had to pick a winner, I would say it would be the Grizzlies. I don't really think anyone necessarily lost here. I think the Grizzlies just made out better than the other two teams.
Yeah, I don't really know what Eric Bledsoe's role is going to be on the Clippers, especially. Not really
I mean,
sure
if
what
he
the plan
plays like
is.
he wants to be there, unlike he did in New Orleans, I think that'll help. But me having watched Pelicans games last year, the dude looked like he didn't even want to be there half the time.
Hmm
Um,
I'm not
and
really too
so
crazy about Eric Bledsoe either.
I'm not either. I think if he plays like he actually wants to be there, it'll be solid. I still think he's the best player in this trade. I think he has the most upside.
Hmm
Um, but I mean, I think if he plays like he wants to be there, it'll be good. Plus, the Clippers have a lot of guards. Um, So it wasn't a bad. Rondo didn't really bring as much as they thought he would, not as much as he brought to the Lakers, and then Bev kind of just done with. So I don't think it's a bad thing at all.
It's definitely not one of the bigger trades though to look at, but it's definitely interesting.
So moving on to other NBA news, we have something that me and Aiden are going to be brief about. We're just going to discuss it with you guys. The Philadelphia 76ers and Joel Embiid agreed to a 4-year, $196 million max extension, super max extension, I might add. Aiden, is this a good deal for both sides?
I mean, it's definitely good for both sides. You think about Joel Embiid; he's one of the best centers in the league, and they just put him on lock for the next 4 years. He's definitely gonna remain on the 76ers. So it's definitely put him in a lock for contention for as long as he's on the team.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like you said, he's one of the best centers in the league. You got two centers that are better than everyone else, Jokic and Embiid, right? Embiid's probably a top 10 player in the league. You need to lock him up. That's cool. Obviously, Supermax is what he wants. It's what he deserves. Good deal for both sides. Cool. Good job, Sixers. You did that. You were supposed to do that. Now, what are you going to do to build around him? Because him and Ben Simmons together is not a championship duo, right?
Mm-hmm.
He does not have a big three, and him and Simmons are not a championship duo. They're really good. That's a test of how good Embiid is, and even too a little bit at that, how pretty good Simmons is.
hmm
I think it's not a fit for Simmons in Philly. And I hate to make this about Ben Simmons, right? Like this is Joel Embiid extension. I said what I think about that. It's a great deal for both sides. But now Philly did what they're expected to do, and now they have to build around it. That's my thoughts on that.
There's definitely not a duo really on the 76ers. If there is a duo, I think Tobias Harris is probably be more important.
Ooh,
I mean,
hot
it's
take.
hot take, but he's able to create the ball, shoot, which is, which he can't do anything else like Ben Simmons, but in the sport of basketball, the most important thing is shooting. I mean,
I would still say Simmons is better, but I could agree with you there. I feel like Harris would be more able to be part of a big three with Embiid, Simmons, or Embiid, him, and then another guard.
mhm.
I agree with you there. I think Harris has star potential. So moving on, we got a piece of NFL news here. Former LSU Tiger legend, I must add, Jamal Adams signs a 4-year, $70 million extension with the Seahawks. Aiden, your thoughts on this?
I mean, it's a big deal for the Seahawks, and it's a big deal for him. Super high paying contract. It's crazy.
Yeah. 4 years, 70 mil is definitely not bad. He's still making out good, but I think he could make out a little bit better. I think he might be worth a little more than that. I know a lot of people are saying he's not a top 3 safety. Personally, I think he is. I think you can slide him right there, that number 3 spot.
hmm
He's obviously one of the best defensive players in the league, and the Seahawks locked him up. That's good. Good step for the Seahawks to return to Super Bowl contention.
And he is an LSU legend or whatever. So I mean, can't have to overrate him because he's fun. All right.
So now, moving on, we have the segment that we've only done once, and I took a terrible L in. So hopefully this time is better. Trivia time. So you guys know how it works. 2 questions. We each have a tiebreaker. Winner gets a 30-second winner circle. So I'm going to ask a question, then Aiden's going to ask a question. So Aiden, are you ready for your first one?
I am ready. And by the way, I do have my phone in here. I'm not looking it up. I have all my questions on there. So I know people are like, Aiden cheated, Aiden cheated. I don't. They're right here. I have my phone
Okay.
propped up. I ain't do nothing. All right.
Okay.
Let's get your.
Which NCAA basketball team has the most Final Four appearances? Is it A, UCLA, B, North Carolina, C, Duke, or D, Kentucky?
I feel like you want me to pick Duke right here, but I'm gonna go UCLA. Hey.
Nope, North Carolina.
Dang, MJ be carrying them right now. Playing.
All right, Aiden's 0 for 1. Let's see if I can get out to here.
This is a pretty complicated one, but it is what player spent his entire career on the Pistons, scored over 16,000 points, and had over 1,300 steals? Not 13,000, 1,300. Is it A, Isaiah Thomas, B, Ben Wallace, C, Joe Dumars, or D, Chauncey Billups?
Okay. Sorry. I feel like it's not the obvious.
What's the obvious?
Should I just go with my gut and go with the obvious?
I don't know, man. You tell me.
Hey, Isaiah Thomas.
Nope. Joe Dumars.
Dang, I knew it. I knew it was
I found this question. I was over here making my question. And I was looking at this and I was like, oh, this is ridiculously hard. But I'm going to give it to him.
All right. This one's ridiculously hard, too.
All
Which
right.
team did Jackie Robinson get traded to before retiring and never playing a game for that team?
Bro, are you serious?
Is it A, the New York Yankees, B, the New York Giants, C, the Chicago Cubs, or D, the Boston Red Sox?
Okay, I know it wasn't the Giants used to be New York, actually. They were San Francisco. All right. Well, never mind. I feel like the Yankees would be kind of obvious just because they'd be getting like everybody. I'm gonna say I saw a little face right there. All right. Dang, I'm gonna say shoot. Freaking the New York Giants.
Dude, that's correct.
I don't know why, because I feel like you wouldn't make up New York Giants, because Giants are San Francisco right now, so that kind of
That's
sounds a little
correct.
fishy.
Before the Giants moved to San Francisco, they were in New York, and they were still rivals with the Dodgers, obviously, because the Dodgers were in Brooklyn. And I guess Jackie got traded there, and he said, "You know what? I'm done. I'm not playing for them."
Aiden Church, the GOAT. All right, now it's time for a question. Who was the first player drafted in the first NFL draft in 1936?
1936.
Is it A. Bart Starr, B. Sammy Bow, C. Jay Berwagner, or D. Don Hudson?
Is this serious right now? Like, this is my question?
This is your question. Who's the first player drafted in the first NFL?
1936. Okay, the only one I've heard of is Bart Starr, so I'm not gonna go with him, and I think he was earlier. Well, can you read my other choices again?
Sammy Bow, Jay Berwagner, and Don Hudson.
I'm going Don Hudson.
Nope. C.
Oh,
Jay Berwagner.
you've never heard of any of those, dude.
I mean, hey, I did my research, but I know now.
Our trivia questions are insanely hard. All right, well, Aiden, your 30 seconds starts now.
All right, man. 2 back-to-back trivia dubs. Kane cannot. When it comes to trivia, I'm up here. He's not even on the camera. That's how it is now. But anyways, man, school started. It's a little crazy right now, but I'm working with it. I don't really know. I don't really know what to say. Other than I'm better at trivia than Kane. There's nothing really else to talk about. You know. All I know is the next episode be a good one, and we got blooper episode coming up, so stay tuned for that.
Thank goodness your time's up. All right, next time I have got to be better.
You said that last time.
To be fair, you won off a guess.
That wasn't a guess. I used my intelligence. Remember that one time? Remember last time I won because you stuttered on one of them, so I said, "Oh well, he stuttered on that one, so I'm gonna choose that one." I'm very strategic.
Let's move on.
I'm strategic with it.
So on Saturday night, me and Aiden were hanging out, and we're scrolling through MLB TV, and we get a no-hitter alert. Arizona Diamondbacks rookie Tyler Gilbert throws a no-hitter in his first career start against the Padres. I mean, Aiden watched the final few outs of this. Aiden, what are your thoughts on this no-hitter?
It was crazy. If you watch the game, even like being on Instagram, you saw his dad going crazy in the stands. It's definitely a crazy moment to see a rookie throw a no-hitter in his first career start. And really, it was just amazing to see because at the start of the season, you saw a lot of no-hitters, but ever since the substance check started, it's kind of died down a little bit. But it was definitely cool to see a no-hitter happen.
One thing on that note was funny. You nailed it, by the way. That's exactly what I was going to say. But one thing on that note was funny is if you watch baseball, you know Ken Rosenthal, the journalist or whatever. So he goes on Twitter that morning, the morning of this no hitter, and he goes says some tweet like, "Oh, the no hitter season is over. Now this substance checks happen." And then that night, Tyler Gilbert comes out, fires a no hitter against the Padres. Not to mention the Padres are a pretty good hitting team too. Um, and like Aiden said, his dad is going crazy in the stand. I'm sure it was a really cool moment for him and his family, and it's definitely something he'll never forget. And I'll probably never forget watching it with you. And it was really cool. We were actually watching the Yankees White Sox game, but we like quick flip it on no hitter, no hit. But yeah, that was really cool to see.
And the next day, there was almost a perfect game.
Ooh, I know, so close.
I was rooting for him, I'm not going to lie. I was rooting for him.
Me and Aiden also were watching that. So close. Tristan McKenzie almost had the Tigers, but that little blue base hit in the 8th. So now we're going to move on to everyone's favorite segment, big deal or no big deal. All right, we got a lot of headlines for you guys. First one, we got 2 soccer news. We'll do them each separately. First one, U.S. Women's National Team star Megan Rapinoe said she'll, quote, take some time to think about her future. Aiden, big deal or no big deal?
I'm going to say no big deal because she already decides when she wants to play. So really, it doesn't make a big deal whether or not she plays or not because she always like, I'm not like saying anything bad about it, but she's always been like choosing when she wants to play, not because of the team.
Wow, yeah, that's actually a really good point. I didn't think about that. I've been pretty critical of Rapinoe since the World Cup where she was really good. Other than that, like Aiden said, this is just my assumption. I'm a casual soccer fan, but it kind of seems like she just kind of, like Aiden said, shows up when she wants, and like her effort is not always there. And she's always the one talking like after the Olympics when they lost. I I agree that it's not a big deal because of that. Also, I don't necessarily think like she's, I still think she's gonna make one more World Cup run and maybe Olympic run just because it's so soon. Um, but yeah, I think not. I don't think it's a big deal. But Aiden, that was a really good point. I agree with you.
But she's definitely a good player, though. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, you saw what she did in the World Cup 2019. So the next piece of soccer news, also surrounding the U.S. Women's National Team, the legend Carly Lloyd will announce her international retirement following the upcoming fall series. Aiden, big deal or no big deal?
I mean, it is a big deal because, like you said, she's a legend, and this is her retirement.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's both. I think it is a big deal because of what you said. She's a legend. Um, she's announcing her retirement. But I also think it's not as big of a deal for the women's national team because she wasn't in the star role like she was 2015 World Cup. And plus, she's getting older. I think they kind of could see it coming a little
Mm.
bit. And she's a striker where the U.S. women's national team, they're so deep at striker. You got Alex Morgan, Kristen Press, um, and even more behind her. I don't think that's necessarily a need for the US. I think it's not a big deal for the US women's national team, but a big deal for soccer in general because a legend is stepping away from the sport.
Yeah. Well, one thing too is like they're never gonna get rid of her because, like you said, she's a legend. It's kind of like Udonis Haslam on the Heat. He's been so loyal to the Heat that they're never gonna cut him. And as long as he wants to be in the NBA, they're gonna pay him. That's just how it is.
Yeah. So next up, we have some MLB news. The Field of Dreams game is returning in 2022 with the Cubs and the Reds set to square off in Iowa. Aiden, big deal or no big deal?
I don't. I mean, it's kind of both. It's a not a big deal. It's a not big deal in this way because it's not gonna be as good as the Yankees versus White
That's
Sox.
exactly what I was going to say.
So it's not a big deal in that way, but it's also a big deal because it's like, well, where do you draw the line? Are we gonna put Orioles versus the Rangers in the Field of Dreams game? Are we gonna do that? Put the two like worst teams in the league against each other? So where do you draw the line at?
I really don't know about this one. I think it's a big deal because it was so good for baseball. But like Aiden said, like this matchup, like even next year, like the Cubs are going to be so bad next year. And it's hard to say what the Reds are going to give you next year. I really don't feel like they're a team that's set for the future. Um, I the Cubs are iconic. They got that going for them. Both of these teams are iconic. So I really don't know about this one. I would say honestly, I would lean towards no big deal because, like Aiden said, it's not going to be as good as the Yankees White Sox. Like the Yankees White Sox, people said that game saved baseball. Like that was such a good game, and it's like Aiden said, like these teams are not going to be good next year. It's hard for me to say this is going to be a big deal.
Hmm.
So I'm going no big deal on this one as well.
Yeah, it is pretty disappointing. When I heard about this, I was pretty disappointed about the teams they chose. No
Me
disrespect to
too.
the
Like
Cubs or
why
the
not
Reds.
like Dodgers Astros or like something.
Just pick someone good. I don't care. Put Yankees, White Sox. If you put Yankees and White Sox again, I would be like, oh, that's kind of lame. But I wouldn't be as disappointed as Cubs versus Reds.
I don't know how I feel about it. I would lean towards no big deal.
So next up, we have Garrett Cole goes 5 2/3 innings, only giving up 2 hits and collects a win in his first start back from the COVID IL. Kane, big deal or no big deal?
I think this is a big deal because obviously it's a big deal the Yankees are getting their ace back, right? He's their guy. They're getting him back from COVID. But if you look at it, things are really starting to put together and click for the Yankees, right? The lineup is getting hot. They're getting guys back from the COVID IL. And if you can get Garrett Cole at like half of as dominant as he was with the end of his Astros run in 2020 and the beginning of 2021, then that is one of the best pitchers in the league. Garrett Cole, when he's on, he's the best pitcher in the league. He's unhittable. And I think if you get that back, you get him clicking. The Yankees are already starting to click. They swept the doubleheader yesterday against the Red Sox, and they pulled into a playoff spot. Things are starting to align for the Yankees. It's a big deal.
They honestly have been on fire ever since that White Sox Yankees series. I mean, after losing the Field of Dreams game, I mean, I pretty much watched that whole series though of the Yankees
Yeah.
versus White Sox. They've just been going crazy. Aaron Judge has been insanely clutch, and it's just been wild.
Even Gallo, too.
Even Gallo was hitting. Even Gallo was like going crazy in the clutch.
So next up, we have the Atlanta Braves pulling atop the NL East standings. Aiden, big deal or no big deal?
anytime a team pulls up to the top of the standings is obviously a big deal because it puts them right there in that contention. Not saying the Braves are contenders, but it puts them up right there and being, in the playoffs, which is a big deal in baseball.
It is a big deal in baseball. This is where I'm gonna slightly disagree with you. I think it's a big deal to an extent. I'm gonna go no big deal because I said it in a couple videos back. I'm gonna stick with it. I do not see the Braves winning this NL East. I still have my faith in the Mets. I think once Lindor comes back and once Jacob DeGrom comes back, my faith is still in the Mets. They're on a slide right now, and the Braves are doing good. The Braves, Phillies, and Mets, they were even, right? So it just depends about, the Braves are hot, they're going to pull up. The Mets were cold, they're going to slide down. I think the Mets are going to get hot, and I just don't see it without Acuna. Like, I really don't. Like, this team is still good, but personally, I'm going no big deal, and I still think the Mets are going to win the East.
That is
Also,
definitely true
oh no, go ahead.
because even the Phillies can pull up ahead too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Phillies are just right behind the Braves.
So that's all we got for today. Let us know what you think down below. Follow us on all social media: TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, all at Kane and Aiden. We made it easy for you guys. And
Mhm.
this is Kane and Aiden signing off.
Off.